Horatio Spafford was a successful lawyer and businessman in Chicago. He and his wife, Anna, had 5 children. 1 boy, 4 girls. In 1871, their little boy died unexpectedly of pneumonia. In that same year, they lost most of their business in the Great Chicago Fire. A couple of years passed by. Horatio was able to build most of his business back, and things are going well. And he says to his wife, Anna, honey, let's get away from it all for a little while, and let's spend time together as a family and go over to Europe. She says, that's a great idea. 2 days before they were to board the ship, a business deal came up. And Horatio says to his wife, Anna, why don't you go ahead of me, go with the girls, and I'll be on the next ship behind you. I'll just be a few days later, and I'll meet up with you there, and I'll tie up these loose business ends. On November 21st, 1873, that French ocean liner was traveling across the Atlantic Ocean with 313 passengers. Among the passengers were Anna and their 4 little girls. About 4 days into the journey, their ship collided with another ship, and their ship sank within 12 minutes. Anna survived. The girls didn't. There was a small rowboat, and the man who was rowing it saw some wreckage and a woman clinging to the wreckage. And it was Anna, and she was alive, and so he pulls her up and puts her in his boat. And soon later, a larger vessel was traveling and rescued them both. 9 days later, dropped them on the shores of Europe. And Anna wired home a 1-sentence telegram. And the 1 sentence read, "Saved alone, what shall I do?" Horatio was on the next passage to go be with his grieving wife over in Europe. And about 4 days into the journey, the captain of that ship called Horatio up to his cabin. And when he got there, he said, "Mr. Spafford, I just want to let you know that we are at the exact coordinates of where your daughters went down." And you know what he did in that moment? In that moment, in that place, he wrote these words, "It is well with my soul. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." Oh, come on, Mr. Spafford. What kind of game are you trying to play here? Who are you trying to impress? What kind of mask are you wearing? How are you going to tell us it's well with your soul when you have just lost so much? Come on, man, this isn't real. I mean, maybe your question is a very simple one. How did he write those words in that moment, in that place? So let's explore that question for just a bit, shall we? Dave Grohl. Does this name ring a bell with anyone? Oh, come on, Dave Grohl? I see it. Who said that? Tom Subilong, of all people, coming at you strong with the Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl is the lead singer of one of my favorite bands that takes me all the way back to middle school, lead singer of the Foo Fighters. And he has this great line. He says, you know what the great thing about music is? One of the great things about music is you can sing a song to 85,000 people, and they will sing that song back to you for 85,000 reasons. And you get how profound that is, right? In other words, if I were to ask 10 of you in this room, what does the song "It Is Well With My Soul," what does it mean to you? Like, what's the essence of this song? We would get 10 different perspectives, 10 different interpretations, 10 different meanings. Why? Because that's the beauty of music. That's the beauty of poetry. That's the beauty of stories. That's the beauty of biblical text. Here's what I hear Mr. Spafford saying in this song, "It Is Well With My Soul." I hear him saying this: I have joy. I have joy because I recognize the significance and the fragility of this life, this moment. And tomorrow, everything could be different. Therefore, I must do something with this moment. Oh, come on, Ryan. You sound just as crazy as he does. Talking about joy in this moment? Come on. All right, let's keep going. Let's look at another story. It's a story that comes from the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, from the book of 2 Samuel, and it comes from chapter 23. And I know I say this a lot, but this is one of my very favorite stories in the Bible. It's a story about David and his 3 warriors. And they are in the midst of this long, complex, drawn-out battle with the Philistines. And here's what happens, just a few verses. At harvest time, 3 of 30 chiefs went down and joined David at the fortress of Adullam, while a force of Philistines were camped in the Rephaim Valley. At that time, David was in the fortress, and a Philistine fort was in Bethlehem. David had a craving and said, "If only someone could give me a drink of water from the well by the gate in Bethlehem." Now let's pause there for just a moment, because we have to remember David is from Bethlehem, right? And in other places in the text, he's described as a shepherd boy from Bethlehem. David's life has just gotten really complex. They are in the middle of this very intense battle. He doesn't know how it's going to end. They're holed up in this cave called Adullam. And what does he say? If only someone could bring me a drink from that well near the gate of Bethlehem. David is longing for home. David is longing for a piece of the familiar. David is longing for a time in life when things were just a bit simpler, before all the pain came in, before all the uncertainty came in. Have you been there? I mean, a time where you long for a piece of home. Things got dicey on you. Things turned a little bit on you. They went south a bit. You were longing for a piece of the familiar. You began longing for a time in life when things were just a bit simpler. Now, Adullam is a cave, and scholars tell us that it's about 10 miles from Bethlehem. What do the warriors do? Next verse. So the 3 warriors broke through the Philistine camp and drew water from the well by the gate in Bethlehem and brought it back to David. But he refused to drink it and poured it out to the Lord. "The Lord forbid that I should do that," he said. "Isn't this the blood of men who risked their lives?" So he refused to drink it. These were the kinds of things the 3 warriors did. That's kind of a messed up story, isn't it? I mean, think about it. You're one of the 3 warriors. You have just risked your life to break through enemy lines, and you got that water from the well by the gate of Bethlehem, 10 miles back, not spilling this water. And you bring it to David, the leader, your boss. David, thanks. What? David, not good leadership, my man. I mean, someone should have given him a leadership book. This is not how you build an army. So something's happening here, right? We need a bit of cultural help, because something is happening here culturally that everyone in that time and in that day would have understood. So in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew Bible, you have this word. It comes up often. It's Nesic, N-A-S-A-K. And Nesic literally means to pour out. Now, sometimes this word is joined with a noun, and when that happens, you get this word, Nesic. Nesic means drink offering. It was a cultural ritual of the day. Everyone would have understood this. There would be moments in life where you would be with your community of people, and you would take the wine, or sometimes the text tells us it's a strong drink, and you would take the wine or the strong drink, and you would pour it out as a drink offering. It was a very simple and very active form of prayer. God, I realize the significance and fragility of this life, this moment. And God, I realize that you are in this moment with us, and you have been with us the whole time. Nesic. It's a drink offering. And you see this all over the Bible, all over the Old Testament. You might remember a story that comes from the first book of the Bible in Genesis chapter 35. Jacob has been on the run. He is running from his past because that boy has a past. He has made major mistakes. And he's on the run, running from his very self. And God comes along to Jacob and says, Jacob, I need you to stop running. I need you to plant some roots. I need you to be still. So Jacob, what I want you to do is get up from where you are now and go to Bethel. And when you get to Bethel, I want you to build an altar to the God who revealed himself to you when things weren't going well. Verse 14, chapter 35. What does Jacob do? So Jacob set up a sacred pillar, a stone pillar, at the place God spoke to him. What did he do then? He poured an offering of wine on it and then poured oil all over it. What was Jacob doing? Nesic. God, I realize the significance of this life, of this moment. And God, I recognize that you have been with me the entire time. Nesic, drink offering. And by the way, David didn't just pour out the water, poured it out to God. In other words, what David was saying to his 3 warriors, look, what y'all did was really cool, really meaningful. But who would I be to simply drink this water? How frivolous of me to simply drink this water. What's he do? Nesic, drink offering. I recognize the significance of this life, this moment. And we're in a really hard spot here. We don't know how it's going to end. But we know that God is in this moment with us, and God has been the whole time. My brothers and sisters, have you experienced those Nesic moments? Man, it was hard, wasn't it? It was heavy. It was grief. It was loss. You didn't know if you'd make it. It was like being called up to the captain's cabin. It was like being holed up in a cave. You didn't know how it was going to end. It was like running from your past, and you were so tired. And yet the only thing you could do was to pour this moment out because you knew you didn't have the strength to hold on to this moment. That took too much. The only thing you could do. I recognize the significance and fragility of this life, this moment. And I realize, or at least I want to realize, that God is in this moment with me. Nesic, it's when your life becomes a drink offering. It's the process of letting go. And man, I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. If this were easy, we wouldn't be talking about it. Like if Nesic came natural to you, we wouldn't need to talk about it because you'd be doing it, I'm doing it, we're all good. We talk about these things because they're hard. It's a process, it's a journey, it's a lifestyle. It's about letting go. You know, my 5-year-old daughter, Shiloh, she's always teaching me how to let go and the importance of letting go. She's learning to ride her bicycle without training wheels. So I get home the other day, and like she does, Poppy, can you help me again? Can we go practice again? And in those moments, you know, when your daughter's asking you, doesn't matter how tired you are, doesn't matter how long of a day it is, you get your butt out on the sidewalk and you help her to learn to ride her bike. Now, the thing about Shiloh is she gets real serious about this. She's got her what's it called? Hello Kitty bicycle with the handlebars that come around like this. She's got her Hello Kitty helmet, her Hello Kitty elbow pads, and she is ready to go. So we go up the sidewalk. It's uphill. And you know how it is. I hold the back of her seat, And she gets to going a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. And before I know it, I'm running with this bike, holding on to it. And the whole time I'm running with this bike, she's yelling at me. Poppy, don't you let go. Poppy, don't let go. Now, at some point, if I want Shiloh to ride her bicycle by herself without me running with it and without those training wheels, I have to let go. It's just hard when it's your little girl. But letting go is a good and healthy thing to do. Letting go is good. It's just hard. 3 brief observations about Nesic moments. First one. They're usually realized when you are at your lowest, in your emptiness. When you have nothing left, they are moments of surrender. Y'all know what I mean by this? Moments of surrender. Now, my kids are always teaching me how to let go and how to surrender. My 2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old little boy named Breck. Breck has this phrase he loves to say. It's just 2 simple words. Da-dum. You know what da-dum means? Da-dum. It's Breckenese for all done. Da-dum. He'll be sitting in his high chair eating. Breck, finish your food. Finish your green beans. Da-dum. And when that boy surrenders, he's like fully surrendering. Nothing else is going in his mouth. When we go to the park and we're walking back home, sometimes Breck will sit down. He'll even lay down. Da-dum. And you know what da-dum means in that moment? Someone is going to pick that boy up and carry him. I could go home without him, but we'd be one less child because he ain't moving. Da-dum. Surrender. And there's something kind of beautiful about that moment, isn't there? Yeah, see, my brothers and sisters, don't shy away from the surrender, because in my experience, that is the exact place you encounter those explosive moments of grace. God picking you up because you have nothing left. Ta-dum. Which leads me to the second point. These moments are moments of grace. They're the moments of surrender. They're the moments where you have nothing left. But they can be the most beautiful moments because you experience God in the most profound ways. You encounter a wholeness, a healing deep within. That's grace. That's grace. That's not something you did. That's something being done in and through you. Explosive moments of grace. Number 3. In a very profound way, Nesic moments become moments of gratitude and joy. And it all sounds a bit crazy, doesn't it? Gratitude and joy. Come on. And notice joy, it's not happiness. Because, see, happiness is too circumstantial. It's usually tied to things going my way. See, Ryan is happy when his kids are getting along and they're not fighting. That makes Ryan happy. Ryan is happy when his flight's on time and things aren't delayed. Ryan is happy when people agree with me and see it my way. Oh, this makes Ryan happy. Joy is different, though, isn't it? Joy isn't circumstantial. In my experience and observation, you can be going through some really hard things in life, and yet you can still have joy. Joy keeps you centered. Joy gives you the ability to say, yeah, I can do this. Man, I'd rather be 1,000 places than here, but yeah, I can do this. Joy, in my experience, is always generated by gratitude. And isn't it strange? The drink offering actually becomes an act, a practice of joy and gratitude. Because I realize the significance of this life, this moment. And I recognize that God is with me in this moment and has been the whole time. So, my friends, is it possible that for Mr. Horatio Spafford, this was a Nesic moment? That when things were at their worst, is it possible he experienced the significance and fragility of this life, this moment, and all he could do was pour it out? Yeah, he may not have poured out some wine. He just poured it out with pen and paper. All he could do was pour it out because he realized that God was with him in this moment and had been the entire time.